Supreme Court justices are hearing a case over abortion access in Idaho.
Yeah, that's right. This is the first time the justices are reviewing a state restriction on abortion since they overturned Roe versus Wade almost 2 years ago.
Let's bring in CBS News legal contributor and Loyola Law School professor Jessica Levinson to help us understand what's at stake here. Jessica, I understand this is about the Emergency Medical Treatment and Labor Act. Talk to us about it and its role in this case.
So this is about a federal law and a state law and whether or not they're truly in conflict. The federal law was originally designed to say you don't get to turn away patients in emergency rooms just because they can't pay. So when it comes to people who really need to get treated in an emergency room, you have to provide them with that treatment. And that's, again, the federal statute. The state statute, which depending on the justice's views, may or may not be in conflict, we see up there on the screen. It's a very restrictive law when it comes to abortions. And it says there are only two exceptions: for the life of the pregnant person, for the life of the mother, or in the cases of rape and incest. And what we've been hearing basically all morning is whether or not there's truly a conflict between those two laws. If there is, then we know what happens. The federal law reigns supreme and the state law has to give way where those two things, again, are truly in conflict.
Yeah, and Jessica, we heard Justice Kagan actually pressing that issue specifically in some of the arguments today. Talk to us about what's at stake in this case. Could the ruling in Idaho then lead to a domino effect for potentially other states?
Well, yes, because if there are other states with similar laws that look like Idaho's law, and the court says, you know what, those laws are perfectly fine under the federal law, that there's no conflict, it means those other very restrictive abortion laws can also be upheld, can also stand. Now, I think we should just very briefly take a step back and say this is about the Biden administration and the federal government trying to find ways to invalidate particularly restrictive state laws in the wake of the Dobbs decision that overturned Roe v. Wade. And so this is not a conversation we ever would have been happening without that Dobbs decision. And so, yes, there could be a domino effect. This is part of litigation that has to do with how severely can states restrict abortion when it comes to other potentially conflicting federal laws like the one we've been talking about today.
And if we look back at the Dobbs decision, Jessica, that overturned Roe versus Wade, and it was because of the mostly conservative justices on the bench. So therefore, is the court likely to rule in favor of Idaho officials, in your view?
So potentially, one thing I just want to say, as I can't totally take my law professor hat off, which is they're very different questions. So the first question in the Dobbs case is whether or not you think under the Constitution, there is a right to obtain an abortion. This is a different question. It still has to deal with abortion. It still has to do with states and their power to restrict abortion, but it's not a constitutional question. It's a question about whether or not certain state laws conflict with this federal law at issue. So it has to do with abortion, of course, but it's a very different question. And so I don't think we can assume that it'll absolutely be the same split that we saw in Dobbs.
Very important point there. Jessica Levinson, we appreciate your time. Thanks so much.
Thank you.